because I'm not a good morning person. Hopefully everybody's having an awesome morning wherever you are in the world. Hopefully those of you who watched the Tyson fight last night, hopefully you're not too disappointed. I could tell you probably didn't miss too much. That's all I can say. No, actually, I actually enjoyed watching it. It's a little disappointing, but I did watch it. But I try not to talk about extra curricular activities on these videos. Hey, what's up? Ryan from the University Security and Solutions channel. Good morning to you, sir. Anyhow, I want to talk about an incident that happened in San Diego, California. San Diego is located in Southern California, somewhere near the Mexico border. What you have is basically an ex-intercon public safety officer, which is a security guard in California, and he was assigned to the MTS contract. If you don't know about intercom security, I usually don't hear a lot of bad things about that company. Like, you cannot compare Allied Universal and Intercom. A lot of people say bad things about Allied. There's a lot of negativity. There is some positivity, but for Intercom, not too many people bash Intercom security. So they got this MTS contract in San Diego. Intercom, I believe, specializes, from our friend in Las Vegas, Mike. They do specialize in transit security, basically providing patrol and standing guard services at transit centers. And what you have is you have a couple, man and wife. Obviously, they're going through some marital problems. Wife is cheating on him with this 27-year-old Christopher Farrell. Christopher Farrell spots the couple somewhere in San Diego. I mean, he was obviously stalking them. And what we learned is they were most likely going to appear for a restraining order on that date against him. So it looked like that couple tried to reconcile the differences. Wife was agreeing to the restraining order because this guy, Christopher Farrell, was displaying stalking behavior. He ended up approaching the two, ambushing them, and unaliving them. Unaliving, yes, that's a new word for YouTube because you can't really say the other word. And then he ended up getting spotted by San Diego Harbor Police, and they got into an OIS with him. And the Harbor Police officer was hit in the leg. I don't know if it's a femoral artery, but he was in critical condition last time I checked. I don't know if he's expected to survive. I believe so, but I'm not sure. And the Christopher Farrell, his life is over. So I want to talk about first the news headlines, right? It's going to be well known out there. I mean, they're going to publish, because it makes news, that security guard or ex-security guard unalives couple gets into a shooting with police. That verbiage makes headlines. They're not going to say a man shoots two and then gets into a shooting with police. It's just not going to hit the headlines. But if they say security guard or ex-security guard, if they say police officer, ex-police officer, or ex-firefighter, it's going to make the headlines. And you might be saying, Sean, why are you republishing that rhetoric? Why are you republishing information that makes the security industry look bad? So let me respond to that first. That information is already out there. It says security guard unalives couple. It's already out there. Second, the title for this channel, it does get people to watch. Now, if you're saying, Sean, you're making a huge profit off of your titles. No, guys, I make anywhere between $100 to $200 a month on ad revenue considering all the hours I put into publishing these videos, it's a small drop in the bucket. I mean, $100 to $200. This video is from a transparent and business perspective, because that's what YouTube essentially is for YouTubers. It's like a business, right? I'll probably make 12 cents, maybe $1, maybe $7 for the whole year. So profit-wise, there's not much. But what I do get is I attract a large array of audience, and hopefully some of them have nothing to do with private security, and they'll learn the truth. They'll learn the truth that not all private security officers are bad people. That most of them are very good people. So that's the whole rationale between this video. And again, I'm trying to spread some awareness as well. We're gonna dive deep into this whole issue, and some of you might understand it a little bit better. Hold on a second. So, what's some of the backstory involved? I want to take you back to October. In October, it looks like the wife tried to break up the affair with Christopher Farrell, and it was going to be just too devastating for him, right? I think at that point in time, he felt a point of major rejection, and he may have felt that he can't live without this lady. So what does he do to reestablish his dominion and control? What does he do to control a lot of the behavior that's lost from this lady? What does he do? He assaults her, and he sexually assaults her. She ends up getting an EPO, and the police department ends up going to Christopher's work at the MTS office, the security office, and while he's on duty, they arrest him, right? So this is October. He's booked into the San Diego County Jail. Now, this is what really gets to me. Why is Christopher out? Why is Christopher out of jail? Well, you have to imagine, this is California, guys, and it's crazy how you could commit such a horrendous act and be out on bail. He was out on bail. Now, what is an EPO? An EPO is Emergency Protective Order. Upon arrest of Christopher, San Diego Police Department or whatever agency was investigating, the way that they get the EPO is they fill out a form, right? It takes me usually 15 minutes. I can do it sometimes in 10 minutes. If I have all the information on hand, I can do this probably 5 to 7 minutes. You fill the form out, you describe who this person is, male, I don't know what nationality he is, I don't know, Hispanic, white, the height, the weight. What's very important is the name and the date of birth. If you have his address, that's great. And then you put all of the protected person's information. So for example, if this lady wants to protect herself, she'll put her name on the restraining order, and then she probably put her husband's name on there too. If they have kids, then they would put that information as well. Stalkers tend to harass people through third parties. So if there's like a mutual friend or something like that, then that person could possibly be named on there. But usually what you see is family members. But that's and the kids. That's really it. So that restraining order, that EPO, is good for, I think it's, oh my goodness, I think it's 7 business days or 7 calendar days, I think. And what the officers do is they call the on-call judge and say, hey, judge, this is what I have. I'm requesting an EPO, Emergency Protective Order. Judge says, okay, granted. Mark the box that says that the restrained has to stay 100 yards away from the protected person. They may not contact, bother, send electronic messages, no contact at all, right? Officer signs it, hands a copy to the restrained person. So he would hand a copy to, or he or she would hand a copy over to Christopher. Christopher's being booked into jail, so they would probably show him the document, have him look over it, and then throw it into his property, his prisoner property bag. So he's served. That EPO also, it takes the weapon out of the, it takes the weapon out of the household, or it takes the weapon away from the actual restrained person. Here, however, Christopher has an issued duty weapon from Intercon. Obviously, his employer collected the gun. He's not allowed to possess any type of firearm. Okay, within that time frame, and I think he has to surrender all the weapons to law enforcement. Guys, come on! If you're hell bent on hurting somebody, you're really gonna turn over all your weapons to law enforcement because a piece of paper says? Come on. Now, if Christopher, if the officer say, "Hey, do you have any weapons?" Christopher says no. "Hey, can I check?" And he says no. That's one of these gray areas, right? You probably want to get a search warrant. Anyhow, even if they got search warrant, people who have guns, and who are hell bent on hurting other people, they're going to get access to some weapon, even the firearm. They're going to get it, guys. Okay, so this guy's eventually he bails out. So you have a 2-month gap, right? And also, in between all of this madness, the BSIS, which is the Bureau of Security Investigative Services, they do not suspend his license. So what I did is yesterday, I looked up Christopher Farrell's information on the BSIS website. He still has an active firearm permit. He has an active, I think, baton permit and an active guard card. How, after you're arrested for rape and you're out on bond or bail, whatever you call it, how is it that information is not, like, you have a valid guard card and firearm permit? That doesn't make any sense. On the flip side of that, what do? Do you suspend it? Because if you suspend it, that's kind of like guilty without proving innocence. Because I'll tell you, a lot of these, I'm not trying to diminish rape allegations, but a lot of sexual allegations out there are false complaints. And again, I don't want to diminish anybody who suffered through something like this, but there's quite a bit. Let me just look through comments real quick. Okay, I'm just looking through any comments that relate to the topic right now. Mike from the Professional Security Journal is here. Welcome, Mike. He says, speaking as a current Intercon employee, company issues the officer an Intercon weapon for a reason, as Las Vegas Transit were issued G17s. Yeah, you're issued. Yeah, and that makes a whole lot of sense, right? You know, you work for the company, they give you a weapon, and then you get into trouble, and then you turn the weapon back in. I just think it's just crazy how the BSIS, how I guess they fancy themselves as protecting the public, right? And he still has an active guard card, an active firearm permit. But let me say this. As a current off-duty law enforcement officer, if I get into a world of trouble like that, all you got to do is go to the California Peace Officer Standards and Training website, look me up, and I will show up as like temporarily suspended or something like that. And the allegations will be there, right? Obviously, my employer would put me on leave for something like that. But there's nothing. Okay. Now let's talk about. I want to say law enforcement, military, and security. I guess dynamics, right? And I got to be really careful because I don't want to put private security in a bad light. But if you're Look, if you're served a restraining order, if private security is your role, right? You're issued a firearm, and your bread and butter is made from being a private security officer. What's going to end up happening when you get a TRO, temporary restraining order, or an EPO? Well, you can't be in possession of the firearm. So basically what you're doing is you're taking away this person's livelihood. So what you get is somebody who's super frustrated. They're anxious because they don't know what's next. The justice system takes forever, it seems like. I mean, for some cases to be filed, it seems like it takes forever. Sometimes it seems like the justice system does nothing. So you got boiling anger, you got frustration, you got anxiety because you don't know how you're going to pay the bills. You don't know what's next. I don't know. Maybe this guy depended on his secret lover, right? The lady that lost her life. Maybe somehow she provided some type of, I don't know, maybe financial, I doubt it, but emotional stability to this person. I think that she did provide some type of emotional stability for this guy, right? But at the end of the day, this person's not going to have his permit. He's not going to have his ability to earn a living. He's not going to be able to have a gun. Sorry guys if the screen is bumping up and down. This is how we do our lives. Just listen to the audio. I apologize in advance, right? So you have somebody that's experiencing all these behaviors. Next, you have this person who's so frustrated he ends up sexually assaulting this girlfriend of his, right? This lady that lost her life, right? He also physically assaulted her. So there's a couple of warning signs, and what I do in my county, whenever there's any type of officer-involved shooting, there's a homicide that involves domestic violence or something like that, or a homicide in general, I always look at the background. What are the prior contacts with police? What you see almost every single time is a weapons offense. Next to weapons offense, you see some type of assault or battery. And then the third factor is you'll see like delaying an officer, resisting arrest, or assaulting a police officer or government employee. And that's usually that's the kind of background you'll see before a homicide takes place. And then some drug or alcohol abuse. Now, some of that was absent here. I just don't think that there was any like resisting arrest or assault of a police officer charges, because he probably would not have a guard card or firearm permit. But I beg to differ on that. We are in California. What you have basically are warning signs. Okay, warning signs. Guys, when you're at work, look for these warning signs. Look for those frustrations, and I encourage you to talk to your coworkers if they're experiencing highly critical moments in their life, and encourage them to seek professional help. Most places, many places have what's called an EAP plan, employee assistance plan. Unfortunately, where I work at, the EAP plan is very crappy. It's not, they don't have culturally competent staff. What I mean by that is law enforcement and even security and even military, they're forms of subculture, right? And you probably want to talk to somebody who has talked to somebody in that realm of the world, because hey, security might be your role, law enforcement might be your role, firefighting might be your role. So you want to have somebody that's culturally competent to deal with that. You don't want to probably deal with somebody who processes, who treats, who counsels your local 5150. In California, 5150 is the welfare and institution code for an involuntary commitment to a healthcare facility due to somebody being a danger to themselves or others. That's what 5150 means in California. But if you're a private security officer, you're probably on a regular basis calling in the cops, calling in police to handle or to deal with a 5150, and they end up, taking this person in. Most, I think, security professionals out there don't want to be in the same place where the others that they called upon are being processed. That's what I mean is people want to, security officers in particular, want to go to culturally competent mental health professionals. Okay? Guys, if you see something, say something. I'm pretty sure that Christopher may have said something under his breath that just created a bunch of warning signs. If you work for Intercom in San Diego, you service the MTS contract, send me an email if you have any information that can help out the private security industry. I promise I will leave you confidential. My email address is ssundAhl@crimebullet.com. It's SSUN like Nancy, D like David, AH like Henry, L like Lincoln, at crime, that's CRIMEBULLET.com, bullet.com, or ssundal@yahoo.com. I have like 5 email addresses. If you have any information that you like to share, I'll leave you confidential. I've never burned anybody in my, I've been on YouTube on a constant basis for maybe, 4 years, 3 or 4 years. You can go through all the thousands of videos that I have, and I never burn anybody. Okay? So that's all I got. I'm looking forward to the input. Guys, I really want to hear from you guys. Have you experienced a coworker that went ballistic? A coworker that you're really concerned about, or maybe you're experiencing a coworker that is going through something like this. Or maybe you guys are all worried right now. I know that you guys are definitely worried. I actually experienced something almost exactly like this in 2009. This private security guard that I knew worked for a government contract, very polite and friendly individual. I saw him on, we'll call it day one. We had a really unusual conversation about something, and then, let's see, it was like day 3. The wife wanted a restraining order. Actually, she got a restraining order on him. He obviously didn't want to be served, and he ended up unaliving his dog with a service gun, the company issued gun. Unalived the dog, and then grabbed his 2-year-old daughter and unalived her as well. It was just a terrible. It was terrible. It's something that I think about every single day. And the circumstances are, I actually don't want to say exact, but there's some very similarities there, and there's some significant warning signs as well. All right, guys, take care, and good morning to everybody.